The chairman election arc happens right after the chaotic chimera ant arc, and man, what a lore-filled and action-packed arc. Now, I'm going to spoil everything, so let's see what happens. Right after the legendary death of Chairman Netero, the Hunter Association is in need of their 13th chairman, and for this, the zodiacs are called in. Everyone kind of looks like their zodiac sign except for the man of mystery himself, which is Ging freecs, who we finally see in this arc. All this hype, 120 something episodes, he's finally here in the flesh. And we get introduced to Pariston Hill, who is a smart and conniving kind of villain throughout this arc. Maybe not a villain, but he rivals Ging. And I've also heard that he's relevant in the future like manga only arcs of Hunter x Hunter. This Pariston guy is the vice chairman, so clearly he's trusted by Netero as a suitable future chairman. And because of this, he tries to take control and abuse his current position, which the rest of the Zodiacs obviously turn down. They also turn down his attempt at nominating himself to be the chairman, for obvious reasons. Ging, he trusts John. John? He's definitely trying to be nonchalant by just not even visiting Gong whilst he's knocking on death's door. And Gon he's close to death. Especially after that crash out versus Netero, he's nearly there. We see Jing's IQ though. It's like making loads of pre-moves in chess and watching your opponent just fall for every single move. We see in a flashback that he prepared everything with beans, this little green man, which is so cheeky and obviously it completely fits his character. He's even saying he's just doing what the chairman wishes, but at the end of the day, we know Ging is selfish and he admits he's doing it for fun. During the voting process, we see Illumi and Hisoka have a little chit-chat, where Illumi says both Gon and Killua are nearing their deaths, as well as the secret brother in the Zeldic family, but more on that secret guy later. Pariston wins the vote for the chairman with an absolute landslide victory, and using his smart mouth, he kind of worms into a position of leadership among the Zodiacs, keeping a smile up while controlling the rules like a puppeteer. Cheadle, or the dog Zodiac, even admits that she wishes Ging was there, obviously hinting that he can help, get them out of this pickle that they're in. But more on that later. Back to Killua, opening the gates and returning to this manor, the Zeldic Family manor. Talking with his dad saying, "Yo, let me see my sister, Aluka." Silver describes her as an entity, referring to this being that is possessing her. He then lets his dad know about Gon's condition and states that Aluka is the only one who can save him, and that letting Gon die is the same as betraying him, which is obviously a nice reference way back in the story where Killua and his dad made a promise to never betray a friend. We learn about Aluka, how she's basically like the magic genie in a lamp. She can grant wishes at a range that's pretty much limitless. If you listen to 3 of her demands, she'll grant you a singular wish. And if you deny 4 of her demands, you get crushed or literally just die. Aluka makes one of the butlers a millionaire. Cash falling from the sky. But what power lets her do this? We just don't know. The bigger the wish you have, the greater her demands will be. She asked for this butler's liver, spine, and brain, so you kind of get the gist. Really makes you think, how much is she going to ask of Killua to save Gon's life? Also, when you refuse her demands, it's not just random people who die, it's the people you know, the people you love. God, Togashi is so good at making powers that have some crazy conditions. Illumi lets us know Killua's plan, to basically sacrifice his own life to make Gon come back. Because if Killua makes the wish himself and doesn't meet the demands of his sister, the people closest to him will all die. Everyone will die. Illumi estimated that tens of thousands of people would die for such a high demand. So basically the entire Zeldic family, everyone in the cast would die. Such ridiculously high stakes. The chimera ant had high stakes and somehow it's been topped. It's even higher stakes at this point. Illumi then politely asks Hisoka to just kill this Aluka girl. And Killua lets us know that his sister is pretty much bipolar, with Aluka being his actual sister and Nanika being this possessive demon-like force within her. He then demands to leave, threatening for Nanika to kill his own mum if he isn't allowed out. And Piggy, the bigger Zeldic, should we say, he makes a good point. He says, "Will my friend," basically referring to Gon, "be happy if he's saved through the sacrifice of countless of others?" No. So he understands that Killua isn't going to risk everyone's lives, whereas Illumi obviously thinks, oh shit, Killua is going to get us all killed. Killua's dad gives him butlers upon butlers to work with, and has him on high alert. If he makes a single mistake, he'll be on house arrest back at the Zeldic Manor. Finally as well, Leorio is back and he's better than absolute ever, keeping his usual cheery and shouty self, even when talking to Killua's butler. And to Morel. The Chimera Ant's most influential side character, Morel, becomes the shot caller and helps the butler with Gon's positioning in the hospital. Back to the election going on, we get some masterful Leorio action, and as usual, Pariston is acting like a leader and offers the public to ask questions. Where we get our boy Leorio calling out Ging for being such a shitty father. Like basically saying, yo, why haven't you visited Gon yet? And we hear this excuse, yo, Gon's got many good friends like you, so I'm not really needed. He even kind of openly takes the piss and says, did my son even ask for me to see him? Obviously, this pushes Leorio off the edge, and he crashes out in normal Leorio style. Doing one of the most legendary things in this arc, one of the most memorable. Even just looking back at it, it's just so funny. A top 5 Nen user getting embarrassed in front of every single hunter. He punches down, and through enabling his Nen technique, he proceeds to bitch slap and just smack Ging right in the face, telling him to suck it. First of all, what a cool technique. The fact that he did this on one of the strongest Nen users of all time is hilarious. This was good in the manga, but it was extra funny in the anime, I'm not going to lie. Leorio then comes in 3rd place in the top 16 candidates for the election, which is kind of like, it's random, because I swear this guy isn't even in the zodiacs, but it is cool. I like seeing Leorio like in the spotlight again. Leorio has been such a good character in early arcs. He's being goated right now. The 2 people above him are Cheadle and Pariston. And we also see some familiar faces in the vote with Bisky, Morel, and also Ging, of course, sneaking in. Back to the Zeldic family, we see the entire Zeldic family mapped out to a T, explaining everyone's relationship with everyone. I'm not going to go into detail on this chart, but like, who is this bald geezer who's just not involved, can I just say? And why is Kaluto so far to the side? Like, she only has literally a relationship with the mother and Killua, and that's it. We find out how the whole Zeldic family works. We find out when there's a dilemma, everyone is kind of greedy and wants to get it their own way. So Killua understands when his brother picks up the phone that Illumi wants to kill Aluka. Killua, you know, he's taken this needle out from Illumi, so he accepts Illumi's challenge for a fight. And the second he accepts, carnage breaks loose. The car goes flying and we see Hisoka and Illumi sitting on top of some sort of mountain. Now Illumi is crashing out over Hisoka, saying he was going to kill Killua. It's generational. His bloodlust came out. Shows how dangerous these guys are. I just can't believe that we saw these 2 characters who are probably, you know, similar power to how they were in the Hunter exam. We could just never expect that they were this powerful. Or at least I couldn't. The butler spread out trying to find a safe way. Then Killua uses his Godspeed technique. Seriously, Killua has the most potential in Hunter x Hunter. Besides maybe Kurapika. But I think Killua has the most potential just in terms of to be a very finished and complete Nen user. Killua in his prime, you know, with training and Nen training, etc., would smoke prime Kurapika. Because Kurapika, he's wound up with loads of Nen conditions. Yeah, like his Scarlet Eyes, overpowered as hell. I've agreed with that. I've admitted that. I understand that. But with the rate that Killua is developing at, I think him at like an adult, he's going to be very tough to beat. Killua and Aluka have some bonding time. And we see Hisoka face off against the butlers from the Zeldic family mansion. And again, who would have thought when we started the arc? An arc about the next chairman. That we would have so much action going on. Like, genuinely, this arc is super criminally underrated in terms of actual enjoyment. Like, it might not be the most deep and philosophical, but I kind of like that, you know. It's a break from the Chimera Ant, from all that carnage, from all that philosophy. I really enjoyed reading and watching it. I mean, it's such a nice break. Hisoka's fight was a banger, with his bungee gum stealing the show once again. I mean, I never thought the butler was going to win, but I didn't know Hisoka was going to take him out so brutally. Also, this grandma butler starts getting sus, you know. And I'm pretty sure that's because there was like this spy within the crew. Or suspicions of a spy. We then see the threat Illumi holds, his needle ability, being able to control people until they die, from literally exhaustion. I mean, it's so insane that Killua wants him arrested for it. So Morel sends out some folks to try and sort it out. Now we see the anti-netero crew, very cool. Pariston kind of manipulates these 3 for his own use, and this crew tries to stop Illumi. But like, everyone tasked with taking down the needle people are dead. One day I've got to do this power scaling video on Illumi, because this guy is just stupidly strong. All of Illumi's conniving actions end up with Killua surrounded. I mean, he was flying in his own blimp, so obviously he thought he was safe, but his driver has got a needle in him. He's being controlled. This leads to us finding out that Grandma Butler accidentally helped Illumi, and we see the family dynamics bouncing around. Nanika eventually heals the grandma's fingers. Killua is hiding information from Illumi at this point as well, but Illumi kind of knows that. Gives him the all clear to try and heal Gon. Hisoka then kills the head of the anti-netero squad, midway through a phone call with Morel as well. It's good to see a character like Morel, you know, even though he's out of the battlefield, he's still a good character. Obviously, I loved him as like a leader, like a role of a leader in the Chimera Ant arc. And I think that is probably the position he deserves to be in. So hopefully in the future manga chapters, he's still there, thriving. And we move over to see Ging talking with Cheadle. He warns her of the Day of Reckoning. I'll mention that later though, because first he talks about Pariston versus Cheadle. He says that these two are going to go head to head. And actually says the only people comparing to netero is himself and Pariston. They're the only people really following his old rules. Maybe because they're both conniving and like selfish. Cheadle's kind of like this goody two-shoes and like very like regimental, very sticking to the rules. Ging says that Pariston doesn't want to win, he just wants to prolong a complete election until this Day of Reckoning. This day is, as Ging explained, due to Netero's poor man's rose. Basically, the Hunter Association has recovered around 5,000 different chimera and eggs. All of them have net abilities, and he lets us know that Pariston is planning to have some fun with them. That is open to interpretation. Either he's going to create this massive army, or he's just going to fight them all for fun. Just test out his nen, you know what I mean? Now we've got two massive things coming up. The final vote for a chairman, and Killua having finally made it to Gon. No one's allowed to leave this building until a choice has been made. I also love how many characters we see. It really reminds us how rich this story is with such an amazing side cast. Everyone says to vote for each other, and Leorio has a speech, showing how loyal he is as a friend. I mean, the speech in the manga was even funnier. Yeah, like, so out of pocket. Pariston, he's conniving, but back to him later. Because we've got to bring our boy Gon back to life. I've got to say, in theory, if they brought him into Greed Island, they could have kind of used this Angel's Breath card to heal him. Just a theory, this is my own personal theory, but by Lord, he's injured. This geezer is fully wrinkled like a tree. He's like Netero seconds before his death. And then we see this mega whoosh, I'm talking a bomb. Not a bomb, but like the most amount of aura we've ever seen. More than Gon's transformation even. And more than Netero's bomb. More than Merorum's aura. It's just insane, and the rest of the cast can agree. Everyone had the same reaction. Except for maybe Illumi, who just starts actually fucking geeking on top of the rooftop. Kind of like parallel to Crollo in this regard. Talking about how he needs this power, this superpower. Pariston is cooking up a storm. Because, you know, Leorio is not actually built to be a chairman. So Cheadle comes and saves the day, offering to be his advisor to make sure the association has a good direction. But then, Morel interrupts the entire meeting, with teary eyes and a big thumbs up. The face of Hunter x Hunter is back, and our good Sir Leorio is one happy fella. Pariston admits that he'd kind of planned this out, but bro, really, he's not the master manipulator, you know? In theory, this should be the end of Hunter x Hunter, because, you know, Gon finally runs into Ging. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what the end goal for Hunter x Hunter was supposed to be. Like, when does it end? Now, obviously, is a decent time. Because it was kind of funny to see Jing's pissed off reaction to his son finally seeing him. Gon goes screaming and crying about the death of Kite, and Ging is kind of brutal. He says that Kite underestimated the mission, which, even though it's true, it's brutal. It's, you know, it's heavy. Ging tells Gon to apologize to Kite, and when Gon asks to talk again, Ging kind of pulls the I'm a busy guy card. Pariston wins the election, and Ging lets Gon know about a secret ability Kite has. Pariston plucks out the most random thing ever. He just resigns. He becomes the chairman and he resigns, making the dog zodiac, Cheadle, the chairman. A lot of shit has happened in this arc, and we see Nanny Cat send Illumi back home. Just like that. With no demands, no orders, there's no risk. So basically, it's an all-powerful tool for Killua to abuse. But we know Killua. We know he wouldn't abuse this power. Which is lucky, because if this was in the wrong hands like Hisoka or Illumi, the whole Hunter x Hunter verse would be in massive trouble. Not gonna lie, Kite's rebirth and him remembering it all kind of spun me when I first heard it. But Gon then finally gets to apologize and move on from that. He says his goodbyes to Killua. You know, I really hope they reunite later, because obviously they've been the dynamic duo of this story. I'm assuming hopefully a time skip will happen where they will all reunite when they're older. But you know, you can't be for certain. Gon's met up with his dad on top of this world tree. Killua's family life is getting better. They've just developed so much in their own personal lives that I don't know if they're ever going to return. I mean, I'm being optimistic, I hope so. But, word on the street, I've been told that Kurapika kind of becomes the main character from the end of this arc onwards. Which is amazing, you know, I love the York New City arc where he took over. And I'm sure I'll love the next arcs to come as well. Ging has a speech with Gon, letting his son know that he wants what he can't have. And he drops the craziest law in the Hunter x Hunter universe. He says that the tree that they just climbed is not actually the biggest, that its growth is stunted. that the biggest tree is outside of the world. So now obviously when he said this I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? He reveals the chimera ants were a threat from outside of this world as well. And then we see it. We finally understand it. The dark continent. And by good flipping God, I'm not going to swear. Look at this map. Look at the absolute scale of it all. It's obvious that this is what Ging wants to explore. And it's probably filled with the most treasure and the most monsters ever. This concludes the Hunter x Hunter anime. Oh my god. Lost for words, if I'm honest. Can't even talk about it right now. So I'll probably make a separate video on it explaining my entire thoughts as a first time viewer. Obviously, to end the anime like this, amazing. An amazing ending. And of course, I will be picking up the manga from here on out. I read chapter 339, which is the last chapter before the next arc, and we see the entire cast. We see our next main character, Kurapika, hunched over, ready for his revenge. Shots go out for the chairman. The threats of the chimera ants has passed. With that being said, an 8 out of 10 arc, super enjoyable, so much lore, so much action, so much detail. And man, Pariston, Ging, you guys are cheeky as fuck. But by far, my favourite character in this arc, with no surprise, was Leorio, with him punching Ging being generational. Shout out to Killua though. Killua was good as well. I'm going to enjoy the exploration to the Dark Continent, and who knows if I should cover that on this channel. Obviously, any other anime recommendations, please let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, enjoy watching my Chimera Ant video, or my recap of Greed Island. This was the end of my journey watching the Hunter x Hunter anime, and I'm glad you came along for it. Subscribe until the next one.